need to ask, he's a smooth operator. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Coast to coast, LA to Chicago, Western Mail. Across the north and south to Key Largo, love for sale. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Smooth operator. Smooth
Man, I was like so caught up in that song that I just completely forgot that I was supposed to be streaming. I was like, it completely evaporated. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome. We'll be doing the usual running through. This is probably a relatively important stream in terms of the way that I try and communicate things throughout this discussion. Because despite the fact that bullish engagement is the best engagement from a Twitter perspective, there are obviously some things that when you come to the nice balanced CBS stream that I'm going to tell you about that aren't going to be so pleasant in terms of the potential up-only conditions that we would like. So I will try my best to articulate them as well as possible across a range of markets and the way that I am coming to the decisions, which essentially is just one big giant I don't know, but hopefully will provide some idea about signals or at least areas of concern that we can utilize to think about our bias. Right, so as I said, it's super unfortunate, but we'll start off with indexes. All right, so I think that's the easiest place for us to start off. We can start off on the index side of things. We'll take a quick look at the dollar, and then we'll move over to crypto. And the reason that I'm starting really on the index side of things is that we've seen an interesting relationship between the two markets, indexes and crypto, in kind of recent days, really, towards the tail end of last week and the opening today, which is we've seen the crypto kind of like lagging strength, where indexes move first, and then crypto moved but sustained the move. So it didn't really give anything back. And we saw a positive Sunday for crypto. And, yeah, sure, we've had some, kind of like correction into the Sunday pump territory. It isn't quite like the indexes are looking currently, which, as I said, is a slight concern. So what we're really looking at here from SPX perspective is, and SPY perspective really, is the loss of 565. So that's going to be, 5650 here. We don't want to see this area lost. Right? And if you see this area lost, then what's actually going to happen here is we're just going to end up bringing in a load of kind of like fractal discussions from what happened back in 2022. Right? So this area here, this is the area we don't want to see lost. And again, we can see it pretty clearly over here on SPY. So we just don't want to be trading back below this. It was a bit of a stubborn point for us to break through at 5650. And once we did, we want to see this area hold. We don't want to see us dipping back below here. The fractal that will be kind of like brought up is this one over here. So if we do end up failing like this area here failed, then not a great situation for us. That's going to, as I said, that's going to bring us, unfortunately, into choppier waters. Now, so far, okay on this side of things. Right? So far, it's okay. It's still holding this area here. This is fine. We haven't dipped below it. We've still got plenty of strength. The market's still trending upwards. Still plenty of positive signs for why this is kind of just a back of the mind worry and shouldn't really be considered too much. The market's still in a very good position overall. There's no real kind of, concerns in a big way here. But I think this level at 565 is an important one just to keep an eye on and a check on, because if we dip below there, we certainly want to see that area recovered. We certainly want to kind of, think about our bias when we're trading below that level. If we get back above the level, then fine, everything's okay again, right? But that level, as we can see from the 2022 region, and not because I'm indicating it's going to play out in the same way, but we saw like this perfect retest back into it. And then that kind of, the sell-off and the aggression then coming from that. And we've got a same level of build-up over here in terms of the significance of this level. So we just would want to see this level protected, essentially. Yeah, now if we lose that level, would it delay the up only on crypto until Q1 next year? Maybe, right? Maybe. Now, crypto's in a very interesting spot. And again, while we're on kind of the index side of things, we can go over to MSTR. Now, MicroStrategy is in a very, very strong position at the moment. MicroStrategy is trying to break that range, and this is the equivalent to the BTC range, and it's trying to break out. It's trying to have that moment of strength in order to get through the top side of this. It is easily one of the best performing crypto-related stocks, and it's trying to make that breakout. Now, previously back in October, right, of 23, MicroStrategy started breaking out as well, all right, down here. MicroStrategy started breaking out, and this was very, very strong against BTC for the whole run-up that we had into late 23. So for the next 2 months, this ran very aggressively, and then outperformed BTC again from there. So this market is doing very, very well as it currently stands, even in the face of kind of the index weakness that we've seen. And yes, of course, there's been some correction here over the course of the day. It traded up around 7% up on the day. It's come down slightly off that high, but still in a very positive position, especially on the weekly time frame where we are looking obviously for that clear breakout and run to the upside. And then the final market we'll cover off on this side is going to be the dollar. The dollar is like the biggest stumbling block right now as we consider the higher time frame from the traditional market side of things. The dollar is the biggest problem that we face. The dollar has bullish divergences down here at this low, and it's starting to play them out. The other problem with the dollar is that we got the first close below this 2-year level down here, and we basically look as though we're going to reverse that. So that's very similar to the way that this region worked. Okay, if we take the level up here to the 101s, it's very similar to the way that this worked through here. Okay, and this was correction point for risk markets, January here, right, February here. And we're kind of moving into that similar patch. Now, of course, there are periods of time in which the dollar and risk are going to move up in unison. We could hope for one of those. But the dollar reclaim as it currently stands with a long, long time left of the month, not a particularly positive sign, especially when we know that indexes are struggling with their levels, or at least attempting to continue to respect them. Lower time frame, this has basically just been cooking. Right? This has literally just been move after move over the course of October. Pretty much, it's just been running. So then that brings us back into crypto, and crypto's performance has been good. Honestly, like I think that this is a really, really good performing market overall. And it's why I remain kind of like bullish here and try not to consider the TradFi side of things, even though I've just started the stream by discussing them, because I think that these markets look very, very good independently. I think there's a lot of good strength here. I think there's a very interesting market dynamic at the moment with meme coins kind of, taking off and really having center stage in terms of the opportunity for people, and at least a lot of the discourse that's taking place. And so from my perspective, I think crypto still treat independently. We can even see here, kind of just from a on the day perspective, yes, we've had our correction, but our response has been far better than the response on the indexes so far. Right, so BTC's move up here is far stronger than we're seeing on the indexes move. So still very, very good signs kind of on this crypto side. So we'll dive into more charts, obviously, but in terms of summary, it's like 565 on the SPY has to hold, and I really think that's an important level to keep an eye on. Dollar has had a very aggressive run and could be in correction territory, but is in the process of reclaiming what could be a very significant monthly support region. And we know that the last time that happened was a major correction point for risk markets. Right, after it did that, then risk ran. And then we have crypto stocks, specifically MicroStrategy, that are outperforming, significantly outperforming in the context of the indexes, but then outperforming in terms of on-the-day performance as well. Right, so that's like the general overall summary of where we are. And then there's a ton of interesting charts in the crypto side of things. Thoughts on TAO bearish, Div? Dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Not confirmed. Strong market. Wouldn't be surprised to see it continues to trade higher. Like, the momentum's all on the upside here, right? So, like, we need a very, very good reason to try and go against this. And at this point in time, like, this isn't enough. In all honesty, that, and probably more applicable on a 12-hour, yeah, is better than trying to join this. For me, this is two steps. This is div, correction, fresh price action. So I would expect this to start trading up here. That's kind of what I would expect from here. And, you know, this was a significant correction again. So even from here to here, right, it's 25% correction. It's a significant correction that we've seen on that market. So, you know, I don't just think that it's, you know, kind of part of this ongoing divergence process. I think it's more likely to be div, 25% correction, takes everything out, very strong response, fresh price action leg, probably trades into the 800s. You see, I told you it wasn't going to be all bearish on crypto. Right? Like, it wasn't going to be doom and gloom. There's a lot of positivity still. Yeah, it's a strong market like TAO 60 level on the RSI, good enough for a play out. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be fading stuff like that. You know, I think that's the big thing. You don't want to be fading stuff. So yeah, Roblox. Yeah, correcting out of this top of the range. And you're right, this is like RKLB did. Trading into a really good spot down here as well, around 41 at the moment. Strong divergence when we tried to make the break. Still inside the range. Hopefully ready soon. Take it straight to 70 when it goes. And RKLB is still very, very good in the breakout. Yeah, but this is a really nice level in here. Yeah, coin trading with no strength at all. Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very weak. Where are you invalidated on BTC? A fresh low. A fresh low, basically. So like nothing too complex on this side of things. It's just a fresh low. Like if we get down here, then it's wrong. But apart from that, structure is good. Higher high is fine. Right, higher high here is fine. This is fine. Like ideally, I'd be able to, if this starts breaking out, then my invalidation becomes here, right? Because it shouldn't be trading back below this low. So if we do get a breakout, then I can obviously adjust this trade, and then that will allow me to size up into this as well. But that's the basic premise. On a scale of 1 to locked in, how focused are you on trading this week versus the last 6 months of shop? Thank you, Ben. How focused am I on trading this week? I would actually probably say less so. Only from the perspective of what happened to me was I took a load of trades during the patch of initial volatility, right, during this move here through the end of September. I took a lot of trades here that played into that aggression. And I closed those trades and started to move towards spot. Because I think that this is a far better spot-based environment for me personally, because I think that some of the higher time frames are obviously set up very, very well. And so from my perspective, I think it's just a better spot environment. So actually probably like less in terms of the active trade patches, but certainly far more interested in spot exposure during this period of time than I have been in, you know, a while. Yeah, comfy in spot. Yeah, unironically true this time. But yeah, and like I've just taken super simple shit for now. Like I took PEPE because PEPE is just really good on the higher time frame. I tweeted about this with a daily RSI reset. Just in a really good position. RSI reset on the 3-day as well. Weekly starting to rotate back. Awesome oscillator flipping positive again. Like loads of really good things on PEPE and kind of like reason to be in spot here. And then the other one is WIF, and you know this is like potentially an underperformer to PopCap, but the chart is like speaks for itself. I think the simplicity of just a play like this with you know the little consolidations down the bottom here, and then the strong break, it just makes sense again to have spot exposure. It's something I don't need to kind of, you know, panic about underperformance or, I mean, it's been pretty good today. So just like taking just really simple things that are set up very nicely from a higher time frame perspective, and now just seeing if basically they can stick. Yeah, MU is a really great chart. Because I think this is the classic example of like a weekly bait candle. We know how important this level is here. We were speaking about like the triple fives or the quad fives through here. And then the weekly comes down and then just like saves it before the close. And just takes off today. It's really nice on the higher time frames. I think this will do something similar soon as well. I think this is just going to move through here. How are the indexes doing with 5 minutes left? Yeah, okay. Well, I was about to say, BTC losing $100 during my little discussion there was obviously relative to the fact that SPX is having this 5 minute down candle into the close. Given the fact that, you know, I discussed at the start, like indexes are in this position, dollars in this position. You know, I think for the majority of people, it's basically like you just got to pick your poison. And for me here, it just makes sense to be exposed to the spot side of things because I'm like, well, if I can position for spot here and I'm correct in terms of the higher time frame pictures that I see, then I'm in for such a great quarter because I don't really have to do a lot. And the market should carry it higher and I don't really have to do much apart from thinking about when I want to start taking profit. But if I sit there and do nothing out of fear that I might be incorrect in my decision making, then I think what it does is probably leaves me more scrambling around to try and find trades, to try and find things that kind of, you know, I can achieve value on, versus the relaxed nature of positioning ahead of that and just saying, right, like if I'm wrong, I'm going to take some L's, going to take some loss, going to get stopped out of a few things, done. But if I'm right, I think that the upside, both financially and psychologically, are so significant that that also offsets the loss of money at this point. And the psychology thing is super, super important. You know, it means that, you know, for those people that just go around and the markets have already moved higher and they're now like just chasing things and they're over trading, and then they come out of these patches where the market has just been going up for a week, yet they seem to have lost money. They've been stopped out of multiple trades. They can't catch anything. And then when you look back over the course of the week, it's just been going up. And that's just because, you know, when we're missing things, when we're not positioned, we're trying to force our way into the market. We're over leveraging. We're taking too many positions. We're getting like stopped out too regularly. Yeah, I still think the Sol chart looks great as well. It's not going to be a great daily here, but still holding that 565, which for now is the important one. As I said, this has been very, very good in response. Sol weekly, I think, is in a very good position as well. I still think that Sol is like disgustingly cheap still. Like anytime it's around here, it just looks disgustingly cheap. I think this trade's significantly higher. The weekly's in a great position. The monthly's in a great position. You maybe got like another month, 2 months of red, and that RSI is going to be back down at such an attractive level. I still think from a spot bag perspective, this is one of the kind of comfiest spot bags you can be in. I've seen things on Twitter about 10K doubled 5 times is 320. Are you talking about like the... You're talking about like the fucking... the thing that Anson tweeted as well? Like they're just like 11 flips. Yeah, like I think the thing is as well is like when we talk about, so when you say about at this point in the cycle, I think it's probably, you know, important to contextualize that if the indexes start to break upwards and if BTC starts to break up, that's a fresh cycle start. And that's like the beginning of good times again. So all of this is just the warm up. All of this is just the like pre-drink preparations. The true impulse and money to be made comes above 70,000 here. That's where the market gets interesting, and that's a fresh cycle. That would be classed for me as 7 months of consolidation and a clean breakout, and I would expect this market to trend very hard towards 6 figures. So, you know, when you ask about like, is it possible? Then yes, I think it is very possible. Right? Maybe not just that. I disagree with the month of red. Sol had every chance to lose 128 and did not. I don't think that me saying a month of red has to mean that it goes to 128. Like we could end a monthly red at 146, right? It doesn't. I'm not indicating that we're going to be, you know, breaking down below the month. strong technical signals. But that's how they get their break. That's how they get those huge portfolios where now they can start fucking around and chucking 5K at every coin under the sun. So I absolutely would say that the preference for me would be on managing one or two positions very, very well. It will also do things like, if you have one coin that takes off in a portfolio of 20, you're typically all 20 will not be performing the same. And so you have a tendency to make mistakes between managing them. So you might close one that's in the red. You might decide to size up into one that's in the green. And then the next day, the one that was in the green starts to sell off and you sized up into it. You got a little bit overconfident. Right? Like loads of problems start coming in when you're managing so many positions at once. Whereas if you can just get into the habit of having 1, 2, 3, 4 positions open and managing them really well, it'll also help you on the holding side of things. Right? So when like you actually want to hold a trade, you actually want to hold a position, then it gives you the opportunity to do that. So you have a little bit more kind of awareness, chill, calm when it comes to decision making for those markets. Yeah, that was a mistake I had last cycle, looking at 10 plus coins. It's so difficult, man, because... And the way that you always have to think about it is like there's always a market that's outperforming you. There's always a market outperforming you. And so many people, they bounce around in the hopes of getting like the best performing market. There's always something out there that's going to outperform you. And, you know, like the classic example that I always give to people is like, well, you shouldn't care about it, right? That's the underlying point that I'm making, is that you shouldn't care about kind of the outperformance of others. If you're holding something like EOS or XRP, then maybe, right, you can make the argument that, look, you should maybe try and modernize a little bit and determine that there's other markets out there that might be, you know, more beneficial to be holding. When it comes to like the outperformance individually between markets that are moving, so whether or not, you know, your PEPE position is up 20%, but PopCat's up 32%. And lots of people like are trying to chase that constant like best performing market. But there's always something out there that outperforms you, and half the time you don't even know it exists. Like, not many people are aware of the fact that MicroStrategy outperformed BTC significantly, but no one was complaining that they didn't own enough MicroStrategy. Everyone's complaining they didn't own enough BTC. So, like, just focus on what you want to focus on and the best that you can trade those markets, and, like, ignore trying to chase, like, the hot thing. Because very often it just ends with a cycle of you just continually getting stopped out of things, not holding positions. And then before you know it, 3 months have passed, the markets have done 3Xs, and you're sat there having lost money. I sometimes get into a situation where I was looking to get into a certain position, but missed it, and it moved away 10% from where I was looking at getting it. Would you evaluate and get in again on market, or wait for a good entry? If it doesn't come, just leave it. What do you think about this? Buy it, sell it, whatever your decision making was in the position, you're doing it. And the reason for that is, I think there's inherently a problem when you look at a market and you look at a chart and you do this. You're like, right, I'm going to be a buyer of PEPE here. All right, and then the market does this instead. And I always think, like, we can draw all these nice levels and have all these reasons from like a technical confluence perspective on why the market, we would want it to trade into a certain point. But if your general idea is like getting into a position, and you're talking about, you know, this, let's just say, I don't know what this is on PEPE. This is like 2.5%. And then you have to like rationalize with yourself. Number one, why would the market come down to any level that I draw? Like, why would that happen anyway? Market's just going to do what the market does. And then secondly, am I willing to sacrifice the fact that I can't reposition based on not getting 2.5% lower? and the market then moving, 35% towards my target. And when it comes to your point about the price already moving like 10% away, then yes, you still have to enter the position. So like if you're looking at getting in here and you want your stop loss to be here, right, but now it's 10% higher, so you have to enter here, but your target's still, let's say, like all-time highs on PEPE, right, then you still have to adapt and adjust the position. Now, your stop loss is probably still going to have to remain in the same spot, which means that you now have to reduce the amount of size that you can take in this position in order to be able to afford a 15% stop loss on it. Right? So if you are chasing a move, or let's not phrase it as chasing. If the market didn't get down to your ideal perfect level, but you still had the right kind of basis for what side of the market you wanted to be positioned on, you should still absolutely want to participate in that market, because otherwise you're going to sit there just sideline watching it do what you thought it was going to do, but you didn't have the balls to push the button, basically. And then in order to accommodate that, you have to adjust the sizing to make sure that you're now comfortable with a wider stop, because you have to come in higher up. Right, that would be... And the other thing that I would say as well for like people like in general, let's just say that you wanted to buy PEPE here. Your best situation is doing stuff like this. It's actually saying like, instead of I want to buy this red line, it's actually saying like, I want to buy this green box. Like this is far easier. So instead what you're doing is just saying, right, anywhere that it gets down here in this kind of like 2-3% region, I'm happy to start thinking about how I position for a trade, instead of being like, it has to come here. Right. And then you can scale into positions here. So you can say, right, okay, well, I'm going to take, 30% of a position if it does this. I'm going to take another 30 if it hits my red line. And then I'm going to take another, 40% if it actually starts to trade away from this. So that's like part of the ongoing positioning process that I still think is one of the biggest breakthroughs that a trader can experience. Like when you learn to build positions properly and scale into positions, your life will be so much easier. What's your opinion on war tensions with Israel-Iran? Priced in, or might be messy when shit hits the fan? Really, really, really hard to tell. Like I think if there's any direct attack that is on a meaningful target, because we've seen before retaliation, but the retaliation was basically at redundant military bases, and therefore was just kind of like a, hey, you fired missiles, we need to fire some back, so kind of just tell us which targets to hit and we'll just call it quits. Whereas like if there's like a meaningful attack, then I think the market goes to shit. But if that situation ever develops, who knows? Right? Who knows? And again, that like plays a part in the thought process, but it plays a part in the, when I was talking about buying spot, it's like I still want to buy spot, even though those clouds are hanging above us. It still doesn't kind of take it away from the technical setups that's here. Do you ever look at funding rates when looking to get into a trade? No. No, it's a bullshit metric. When it comes to like getting into positions, it's like a classic reason that people fuck up bull markets, because they look at the charts and they look at funding and they get put off get into a position, or they will take short positions based on the funding, because when a market goes up a lot, lots of people want to long it, right? That's a healthy market. That's the way the market should be. And occasionally there's flush outs, yeah, fine. But typically those markets always move back to the upside. So when you get into the bull market situation and you get into like clear, aggressive running markets, then funding rates are very unhelpful, because they'll often put you off entering positions, or they'll scare you into taking the other side of the market. Indicator on the bottom is the awesome oscillator. It's default out of the box in TradingView. Thank you, Pigeon. You think SUI will be a market that people regret before it goes back to all-time high. Probably not. Like, it's trading really, really well. I was long from like down here and took profit here. Classic. But yeah, probably not. Like, it's moving really, really well, but there'll be other shit, right? Yeah, it was a nice trade, Barrett. You're right. It was a nice trade, but it could have been better. But you're right. Independently, it was a good trade. Correct. What about RKLB? What are your targets? I mean, ideally lower first. That would be the ideal. Like, it's probably gonna correct under 10. I think that breaking 10 now would be a pretty tall order. So I think correction first, and then hopefully buy some more, and then I don't know. It's very much like a longer term hold for me. So I don't know in terms of targets. I think about like the space stocks a lot. Like, I've got a watch list here, but like I think about the space stocks a lot. So when I think towards the future and we think about like AI and stuff, then I think about that side as well, like the space side of things. Like, the advancements are pretty rapid, so it just feels like a nice, like, long-term bag hold. And obviously got the luxury of being in a very good position on it now as well. Man, Orange, you're pouring everything. You're putting everything on the table tonight, huh? I'm gonna have to start charging for this, man. This is like bordering on therapy session. But it's a really good question, or a really good point anyway. You say, why does 500k on a centralized exchange wallet have a completely different feeling than the same amount in a bank account? I mean, at some point in 2022, I had 500k, and if I pulled it out whatever time, if it was 300, 250, 200, and put it in the bank account, I would be delighted now. And then. But instead, I'm still in the trenches, dumb, broke, and on top of that, I haven't lived off of that money in the real world at all. Yeah, that's the classic. That's the classic. It's because when we see, and this was a very, very important teaching that I had a long time ago, and I always used to tell people to do this. Right? And it might be a long time since the OG stream listeners have heard me discuss this, but I'm sure they'll remember. Like, when you have money in crypto, it's monopoly money, and it's fake. It's not real. It's just numbers on screen, right? We like enter shit all the time. Like, the amount of times I feel sick to my stomach about the fees that I've paid in terms of like marketing in and out of trades. Like, it's disgusting the amount of money that is just kind of like evaporated in this space. So you have like this concept of just numbers on a screen and not translating to anything in the real world. And then you also have the greed aspect of things. So, you know, you spin up 100k, you spin up 500k, and you just want to keep going. Right? You just want to keep like spinning that money. And because it doesn't feel real, because it doesn't have that kind of real world impact to you, then, you know, it kind of sets up for usually a painful experience. So one of the things that I always used to say to people is like, make sure you understand the reality of money and how much money is really at stake here. So sometimes even when we're losing, you know, $1,000 here and there, a few $100s here and there, like, that shit still buys you a lot in the real world, man. Like, people like entering and exiting positions take a few $100 loss every time, and they do that maybe, you know, 5 or 6 times a week. Like, that shit has real world value that you can do a lot with that. I always used to tell people when they won, just like withdraw the profit and go and buy something. Like, and back then it was like, go and buy a PS5. Like, go and buy an Xbox. Like, go and buy something to understand that your profit is real and it translates to goods in the real world that either were luxuries before that you couldn't afford, or were things that you wished you could have, or the fact that you suddenly just got an extra $1,000 appear means you can now, you know, kind of comfortably go out and buy them. But like, you got to understand the reality of the money. And like I said, sometimes I get like sick to my stomach with, you know, because I go through that process as well. I just like, you know, smash a few thousand, you know, lose a few thousand here and there over the course of the week. You get to the end of the week, and you're like, fuck, we could have gone like family holiday for 2 weeks on that money. Yeah. And like, there's a lot of debate on things like the watches, right? There's a lot of debate on things like, you know, whether or not, if you've got a net worth of 100K, if you should buy yourself a Rolex or not. Like, I'm a very firm believer in the fact that you should buy yourself something nice that is memento to what you've achieved, and secondly is a relatively decent store of value, and third is relatively liquid. Like, I always think from anybody, and watches are just something that kind of go hand in hand with this world. But if you're looking at kind of cashing out larger amounts, or at least sometimes it's done in like personal protection. So it's like, look, if I cash out 20K and I go and buy myself a nice little like GMT or a nice Submariner, whatever you want to buy. Sometimes like cashing out that 20K can just save you from burning it. Right? So like, if you are buying something liquid of higher value, I still think it's a very good idea, honestly. Yeah, Lambo's fucked, right? Buy yourself a nice watch. If I buy a Rolex, the wife want to have something as nice as well. Yeah, man. Listen, I know all about that. And then you clarify, important message though, just joking. Is your wife in the room? There you go. There you go. Don't worry, Mrs. Barrett. There's a Rolex on the way for you. He's promised me. It's what he's looking at. What if this is the monthly open retest from underneath? Then I wouldn't be aware of it because I couldn't tell you where the fuck the monthly open was. But I'll give you credit in the next stream for being right. Thanks for the bankroll management chat. I did the same. Deposited 250K into altcoins, 80% of net worth, after studying cycles and expecting a large bull run. Ran it up to 1.5 million without rotating it into BTC or more stable assets and taking profit. My thought was it was only 5.5x and altcoins do way more typically. Yeah, man, it happens, right? That's what happens. Like, lots of people take 2-3 cycles to really like hammer down the lessons. To really kind of have it dialed in on what they need to do better next time. And so every cycle you learn something new. You're like, okay, right, this time I didn't sell enough. I kind of let the euphoria carry me away. And I didn't sell as much as I should have sold. So next time, and there will be a next time, there's always a next time. So next time I'm going to decide that, you know, when I'm feeling those feelings of absolute euphoria, and I'm convinced that the market I'm in is already up 10x, but it's going to go 50x, that I should probably sell some. Because the other thing as well, and like we always discuss, is there's always opportunity. There's always shit you can buy that's going to go up. Right? If like risk is down, then we start to see the metals rise. If metals down, we start to see risks rise. If you want to be in cash because the dollar's strong, then fine, you could be in cash. Will you tell us to sell near the top? I highly doubt it, man. I highly doubt it. I'll probably be in the euphoria with you, cheering you on. I'd say, you pussy. You pussy, you want to sell for a 10x? This shit's running 50x minimum. thoughts on top meme coins right now? I'm pretty sure that list that you've given, man, isn't the top meme coins right now. I don't know, but it feels like there's a few missing that are outperforming that set. Man turns 88k into 450 million with Tesla. Tesla then sues after losing it all on Tesla options. Yeah. I mean, get fucked, honestly. Like, what sort of mental illness do you have if you have 415 million in options profit and you're not taking profit? Like, what sort of problem is there? Yeah, you can replay the stream, man. There'll be a summary out as well. You invest in the Chinese market recently? I did not. It's called being a crackhead, 100%. Yeah, wild. Reality check problem. It's just numbers on the screen. Yeah, man. But like, if the numbers on the screen say 400 and like, what is it? 415 million, right? That, like, at that point, like, you would be in a cold fucking sweat looking at that position. If I was 415 mil up on Tesla calls, I would have sleepless nights thinking Elon was going to die any moment, right? Like, Tesla's going to plummet 50% overnight. Elon's going to die. Like, man, I would not sleep. And this guy is just fucking riding it back down. Like, what's going on? There's something wrong. And the most mid-curve ever, maybe 2 cycles will be enough to get it. I fucked up in 21, 23 so badly, and I left just before 24. But to be honest, I tried to make money from no money. So I started to build a stack with a regular job to get back into this. Well, welcome back, man, and good on you. There's still nothing better than these markets. 450 million isn't enough to retire. Yeah, look at that. Everybody throwing that up. Yeah. If I was 4 million up, I'd be throwing up. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what's to, like, what sort of person you have to be to stare at 415 million and not be like, I don't even think I could press like the close button. I think I would have to like ring the broker to say, like, can you fucking confirm that if I hit close that I can get out of this position and that's all fine, like that profit's there for me. Because I'd be like panicking, some shit would happen, you know, like I would be shaking. Thoughts on Ansem hate meta? It happens to everyone. Like, everyone goes through the cycles of, you know, somebody is the main character that gets shit on for whatever they're doing, and then somebody else does something stupid and everybody forgets about the original person. They focus on the new person. Right? It's like when Gainsey used to get shit. As soon as Gainsey would come under the lens, he would basically just say, right, give it like 24 hours. Somebody else will do some dumb shit, and then no one will remember what I'm doing anymore. Yeah, I think to be able to do those kind of gains, you have to be like that mentally. Yeah, if he was mentally stable, he would have cashed out hitting a mill or something. Probably before, but yeah, you're right. Favorite vacation spot in Western Europe? That's like oddly specific. SHIB looks better than DOGE right now. DOGE is fine. SHIB's stronger for sure. That's a trade that I wish you didn't see. Hit TP1 though. So I get like half credit for that, right? Blunts is bear posting. I know that Credible has been. Gut's telling me that these early week crypto pumps might have been a trap. Had a good look at the dollar and ES today and gave myself a bit of reality check. Weekly divs on both were confirmed, and BTC so far rejecting for the 0.618 fib. Fuck. All right. Well, I mean, we know about the index picture. So like we've been talking about this weekly div for a long, long time. And like the real concern again is on the 565 loss. And so when we were talking about that earlier today, and we were talking about like SPY here, like it's just because 565 loss would confirm the weekly divergence, and this would then be a failed top and a failed breakout. So yes, that would be concerning. The positive, is it a positive? Maybe not. Let's switch to this chart. All right, the positive here is that this high is better on RSI. On SPY, it isn't, right, in terms of AO as well. So like we really need to have that impulse from here. I mean, the other positive you could look at is that if you short the 565 loss on SPY, you probably get a very good swing short entry. Right? If things kind of move in a going to shit direction, that's probably an incredible swing short entry on a 565 loss. So I mean, there's a positive in there as well. But we know about the divergences, and like in terms of like the weekly divergence being confirmed. Yeah, you're close, but I don't think I could give it to you just yet, right? I don't think I could give you the weekly div just yet, but it's close. Oh, he's retweeting Credible as well. Man, it's so funny on his feed. It's just like retweeting whiff stuff, and then the next retweet is the Credible let's run it back with a like 70% correction. Yeah, now that's a very good point, right? Could it just chop and invalidate the weekly div? And yes, that's still absolutely a thing it can do. We've spoken about the way that given everything that we've got going on, geopolitical tensions, US election, yada yada, right? All of that shit. Then yes, absolutely. We could just chop around. The market could just be like, fuck this. I can't really make up my mind. I don't really know if I want to have exposure or not. And therefore the market will just fluctuate back and forth. And we might see that as a positive period of time for crypto in general. We might see that as, kind of following and continuing our chop regions. But I think, yeah, absolutely. Whenever we're thinking about the markets and we're trying to use that foresight into imagining is it up or down, we very often forget sideways, and sideways is absolutely a point for the markets to be moving in. I think the US is fucked either way, by the way. I don't know if we talked about this on stream. But from an outsider perspective, I think it's fucked. I think it's fucked. And also, just to clarify, I shit on the burgers, but I do love America, right? So, let's not, please don't think about that side of things. I think the country's in a bad spot heading into the election, and I'll elaborate before I get the questions. You have a very, very tight election, and I know that Trump's odds swung higher today, but you have a very tight election in general. You also have two candidates that are very annoying to the opposite political party. So you have two candidates that naturally cause a big divide in political opinion. The other thing that you have is that Americans, and again, I'll generalize here, but I realize that this doesn't apply to a lot of you burgers that are watching. Americans in general do something that no other country really does, which is that you make your political affiliation your personality. Right? So the fact that you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, you make that a personality. And very few countries elsewhere in the world tend to do that. Right? Sure, around election time, you might display banners or whatever to, declare who you're voting for and, whatever else. But in general, that's not really a thing. like even like so in the UK, like one thing that we tend not to talk about is politics at all. Right? Like political party. If you ask anybody who did you vote for, you'll get like a very like, oh, I don't really want to talk about that. Right? Like regardless of who it is. In the US, you've like taken it the other way, and it's like you proudly display whatever your political allegiance is. And so I think you've got this like clusterfuck of things basically developing where I think whoever wins the election, the other side's going to be super pissed about it. Like if it's Kamala and, you know, everything goes on with the Democrat side, then the Republicans going to be fucking furious that she's in because it's her. And if Trump gets re-elected, then of course the Democrats are going to go fucking wild on how the country is so retarded to manage to vote Trump in twice. So I don't know. I think it's just like, to me, it just feels like I don't know the positives from that situation. Like from a greedy perspective and with no influence and not living there, I would prefer Trump win the election because that's been better for the markets from the history that I have. But yeah, I think it's just like a really interesting situation out there. I think it's an interesting blend of what seems to be quite aggressive politics. The UK just had massive riots? Yeah. And you say massive riots. I mean, I can tell already that you're a burger that's trying to commentate on that. We had some riots, yes. But this isn't about, like, my country versus your country. This is just saying that your country looks fucked. That's all. I'm not saying that my country isn't fucked. I'm just saying that your country looks fucked. All right. And with that incredibly deep, insightful view on US politics, we'll bring the stream to a wonderful conclusion. What's your favorite burger? This is a contentious one. It's a great question to end on. This is a contentious one. If I go anywhere, I would primarily choose a chicken burger over a beef burger. Like 90% of the time, I would go that way. Yeah, I'd go like has to be fried chicken. I'm not gonna take no just like grilled chicken breast shit. I don't know why. That's just a sandwich. Yeah, well, I mean, like, yeah, you depending on where you're from. Yeah, see, everyone says that's a chicken sandwich. No, I mean not here. Right? Again, you got to try and travel outside of the US. All right, that's all. You got to try and travel outside of the state. You know, but elsewhere in the world. Now you see when he asked what burger he meant at the beef. No, he didn't. He didn't. He meant whatever meat tickles your fancy. In Asia, it's a fucking sandwich. Damn, man. I'll take one of those. All right, let's wrap up. So a nice little stream, good coverage on a range of markets, and like I said, I would love to just be like unshakably bullish on the markets, but the indexes do have those signs of concern. 565 on the SPY. I've said it a few times. That's the one. Like that's the one that has to hold. So just keep a good eye on that level. Hopefully it's just continued. Well, no, hopefully it's not continued chop. If it is continued chop, don't get fucked up by it because the good times are probably going to follow. We'll get the stream summary up when Barrett has the time to do that. That'll be on YouTube. We'll be back later this week, a couple of times this week, actually. We'll be talking runes on Wednesday. We'll be doing the Tensor stream on Friday. And don't forget, referrals under my Woo link will be eligible for the discount for the foundation, which is coming up, which is going to knock a 30% off that. So Woo wanted to run that. We're going to get that all sorted. It will all happen automatically. You just need to be signed up on the ref link. It doesn't matter if you're historically signed up. That's also fine. But if you want to get that 30% discount for the foundation, which is the course, then please sign up at the Woo ref link, and I will catch all of you guys on a number of other times this week. So have a wonderful, wonderful couple of days, and I will speak to you all soon.